The arrival is here. Welcome to the Oktane Minutes podcast. I took a break and we're still kind of like on schedule, so it's not going to be too bad of a jump. I just got busy, but we are continuously covering. What am I covering? I am covering that shit known as Apex Dominant 2. Fuck the world, FTW. And that's not what I want to record. Technical difficulties. But yeah, I'm covering FTW 2 and Apex Dominant, which is a series and a comic book that I had created, and that will come out once I stop being an asshole and decide that I really want to put my nose to the grindstone, and produce this piece of work, piece of business. That being said, we will be covering the Apreme produced Escape from Darkness. I think he made this on an SP12 old machine. Thing carries like, if I am correct, carries like 10 seconds of sample time. So back in the day with the SPs, you would have to speed your record up to the maximum capacity and then pitch it back down. You pitch it up to record it or to record your samples, and then bring them back down, and then you play the little bits and pieces, and you got to make do, you know what I'm saying? So whatever would take you 3 seconds, you would have to speed it up to catch a half a second, and then you got to compile the accumulation of 10 minutes, or not 10 minutes, 10 seconds. And sometimes it wasn't even that. If it's SP12, it was probably like 5 seconds. And then what you would do if you had, if you needed auxiliary time, you would have to drop it into another sampler, which would time stretch it, something like an S950. Put it in the S950 and stretch it, large professor. The MPC had the same similar thing, and this could have been an MPC beat, but I'm thinking it was an SP12, but if not, it could be an MPC 60, So they would drop it into what they call a SCSI sampler. But now you have SCSI drives for a lot of these old equipments, for these old machines, and you get it going that way, and the fans love it. They love that vintage sound, everybody does computers, and I think more or less everything became more software just because it's just cheaper to produce, and you could sell it for cheaper and in turn make a profit. A lot of these old companies they made money, but they didn't, because these things were, you think the inception of the MPC and the SP1200 and all these things, they cost a pretty penny. I'm thinking back in the day when they first dropped, they were like anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000. That was a hard purchase to make. You just didn't get something like that as a youngin. A lot of people who had studios, you either had to work in a studio with somebody or just had somebody who believed in you. Sometimes you had people who had their parents believe in them and make purchases because they knew their child was going to make something of themselves, and if it kept them out the streets, they kept their children out the street. Any price is worth it, as long as that baby boy is out of the streets and not getting into trouble or making trouble for somebody, because you do not want to be a product of that system. Anyway, to describe the beat Apreme made, it's a dark beat. It's dark and it marches. Much like a lot of the production from our Seven-Headed Dragon works. Seven-Headed Dragon, the self-titled album, and Seven-Headed Dragon, or Oktane and Apreme. That's the official name. Seven-Headed Dragon is just what we kind of run with. But the first album is called Seven-Headed Dragon. Second album is called Kill the Gorgon. Bought on Apex Dominant, and of course, Apreme makes appearances either production wise or vocal wise. So after this series of events that I will lay down on YouTube, he will be making an appearance on the next album, which is Silver Fox Caesar, and some gems. He's going to be on a couple of tracks. And that album is almost done. It's 80% done, by the way. By the time upon hearing it, by the time you guys probably hear this thing will probably be even closer. It'll probably be 95% done. But yeah, and I've got some tracks. And one of these days, like I said, we'll cover that in the next coming weeks down the line. Just when this stuff gets done, then the campaign for the new stuff, because I try to spread things out. I plan to drop 3 albums this year, 2024, 3 projects. It might be a 4th project, but let's get into the I'm gonna go ahead and just run this TikTok off and just post this thing up on here, and we can get into the project and talk about the meanings of the song, which will be great. So moving on, man. So getting on to the song, man. We're really talking about the throes of human history here, man. Escape from darkness. It's kind of like a callback to my album, Martyrs Become Saints, which is kind of like, well, not kind of like, what was basically the concept of human history and the duality and brutality of man through his spirituality. Meaning that, like, what is the history in spirituality? Like, it took a long time for for mankind to understand himself in a way that could be governable for himself, right? The only true governance is that belief in spirituality, or that knowing that you are better than what situation you are given. But it takes work. You got to work on yourself. You live and die. You live and die by your name and by your sword, and sometimes by your heart. Sometimes if you have a good heart, it can kill you. The dark heart is the one that makes you survive. But after a while, once there is peace, remember, the hard men create peace, right? The soft ones fall and descend into chaos. But in order to create soft people, you must have the hard ones that create peace, so the other generations don't have to go into that. But once you get so soft that everything falls apart again, then the next generation only know pain and suffering. An escape from darkness it's like every so often society will go to sleep, will fall asleep, and it is up to those brave individuals to say, hey, I shall no longer sleep. I don't sleep. Sleep's the cousin of death. Nas quote. It was written. But that's what escape from darkness is, man. You just you have the awakening in some form or fashion. Sometimes it's through brutality. Sometimes that awakening is through taking the higher road and not divulging into brutality, even though violence is a golden thing and a valuable thing. That's why they say violence is golden, because violence creates peace. The most violent men are the most peaceful, because they can keep the peace, because they're willing to get violent to make sure that it's maintained. Those who are naturally peaceful, are not known for being violent, will always only find violence, because they refuse to take things into their hands. Some people refuse to take on matters of justice and being righteous from the start. On these clips, yes, I'll address the clips. The people on these clips, yeah, it does look like I'm psychobabbling, but if you go to my YouTube, Oktane 7 Son, You will see the Oktane Minutes podcast, and I will be talking about my music. And with the music comes a lot of philosophical things about what I'm talking about. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and send you guys on your way. And, so there you go. I'm going to send this YouTube off. No, I'm not going to. I don't discard. Okay. Pardon me. I'm not editing nothing out. But, yeah, here it goes. Here's the lyric breakdown. So we let the history begin. Shit's real, like everything else is so true. Spill blood for the love of a thunder god, the mightiest of men. Embark on an occupation within the situation. Had heavy conditions. All started with strategic movements, psyops, ammo dumps, shoot the place up. The action was swift, brutal, and abrupt, efficient at a frequency never seen before. The shock and awe went down without a flaw. People ran for their lives cause they seen the white of the eyes, all by surprise. Through the mass homicide, turned to culture colonized, no prison houses. Others committed suicide, they knew the fate at hand, turning homes into foreign lands. Slave makers amongst, clamp chains on the man's mind, sign of the new and old times. Escape from the darkness, the hardships, subjected to the heartless, survivors of the hardest, revenge for the martyrs from the fringe. Let the history begin. Escape from the darkness, the hardship, subjected to the heartless, survivors of the hardest, revenge from the martyrs from the fringe. So let the history begin. When the clock strikes, time to cash in the birthright. They didn't want to submit, go and put up a fight. Any access agents to derail us, ponder and tell us to go and run and hide from the zealots. They couldn't say shit. I know that they was jealous. Bands, crews, and clans couldn't force my hands. And the lightning was fast. It landed by demand. Reprimands was severe. Made the ears bleed. Made the face melt like opening the ark. Feel it like pressure and the heart to begin. Sins of the Father, justice is exalted. What truth be extracted, nothing be redacted. We be talking, causing chaos, boss ballin', appalling the severe masses. The kings come back for public access. Revolution through the sword and the Smith and Wesson. Escape from the darkness, the hardship, subjected to the heartless, survivors of the hardest, revenge from the martyrs, from the fringe. So let the history begin. Escape from the darkness, the hardship, subjected to the heartless, survivors of the hardest, revenge from the martyrs, from the fringe. So let the history begin.